Hello and welcome back to the GuildMag podcast. We have been away for a couple of weeks and I am back, the almighty Valiant. So yeah, welcome to episode 39. Say hi guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Have you all missed me? I'm sure you have.
It was
I'll-
painfully tragic
I'll accept
having
all
you out of my life.
I'll accept all the applause and the gifts and everything now. Bring them on. Come on, what have you got me?
That wasn't enough that we gave you sympathy.
No, I expect
I got you. I got you a couple of articles. That's what I got you.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Thank you
Really.
very much. I've just noticed something.
You've got.
I've got you.
I
I've got
see
you
that.
two the wrong way around on the stream. Well, we're just
Wow.
gonna have to live with that for today.
I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be. I think we'll live. I think I will be alive after the show.
I
We'll
can't.
consider this April Fools or something.
I can't
that
deal with
you-
it.
Aaron's name is beneath my face.
Rowan can't handle it, guys.
Oh,
So-
I'm messing everything up.
Rowan.
I'm sorry.
Now we know how long it's been since he's actually
been so
streamed the
life.
podcast.
For
True.
once, I'm the one that's not doing it. Okay,
What have you done?
just ignore it. Let's move
Yep.
on.
You messed this up badly. There we go.
So, of course, the first podcast I come back, something goes wrong. It's going to happen. So it's a new year. It's 2016. We are
Yoo-hoo.
back for good. Well, for now, we'll see. And we've got a load of stuff to talk about today. All about the future of Guild Wars 2 in 2016, as Colin was hinting at in the latest Guild chat.
Mhm.
So we're going to kind of talk about our thoughts and feelings for 2016, what we're hoping, kind of do a little bit of a retrospective on 2015, how we felt that went, and all kinds of stuff like that. So, what have you guys been up to this week?
Well, I've been playing Living World Season 2. Yeah, that's not very new, is it? It's old stuff.
That's all.
And I revisited, so that's been fun. I'm enjoying it.
Excellent. And you?
I was fighting with my computer all week. Finally got it working again on Friday after it blue screened on me with a sad face
I
emote
forgot
and
about that.
everything. Yeah, so I finally got back in game on Friday night and I did some Verdant Brink stuff. And my mastery level is still piddly, but hey. it's
All
good.
of ours are atrocious. So let's
It's
just
true.
agree not to say what they are, and people.
Well, the thing is, like, all the things that I like doing in game don't really give that much XP. So, because XP didn't matter before, so I do a lot of stuff that's not
Right.
very XP savvy.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, I'm behind on the mastery thing.
it's all right. We'll get there.
Um,
I saw someone post to, I think it was Twitter yesterday or something, that they were just ranting because they're like, I spent 3 hours in Heart of Thorns and I finished everything. And I'm like, really? All
I was like-
masteries?
Yeah.
wow.
I don't think so. So, I don't know, they were upset.
Indeed. So we're going to kick off with the news before we get into our usual discussion. There's not that much news. Obviously, Winter's Day is still here until Tuesday. It feels like it's been here forever. And
I know.
Hmm.
For another year running, I have done none of it. So
I
I'm
never
quite
do
proud of
Winter's
that.
Day.
I
know.
Yeah.
we
think the
talk
first
about
time you
this
did-
like every year, and
I know.
I just
Well, Aaron went in, we forced him in at the, when we did our Winter's Day show.
That is
Before the
literally
holidays.
all the Winter's Day I've done ever in Guild Wars 2, is that one podcast.
Well, there you go.
Did you
At
love
least you
it?
got some experience.
It was it was all right. It was solidly all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay.
Safe choice of words there.
Yeah, it was
I don't know that.
purely great.
I know a lot of people have been redoing the jumping puzzle. Not me.
Apparently, it's like the best way to get those sweet Winter's Day gifts. Get yourself some nice ugly wool socks and sweaters.
I didn't get any of those this year.
Maybe they took them out. I don't open the gifts. I sell them. They're worth like 7 silver. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been opening gifts because I'm thinking, well, maybe one day I'll go for the winter's presents, snowy shoulder skin, but
Oh yeah.
if not, I'm banking stuff and then I'll
If you fancy looking like a walking blizzard sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I keep them around and I actually do it, then hey, at least I've got it. But if I decide, meh, I'll sell
Maybe
them,
if-
and
maybe if
hopefully
water
I'll make
ever
some gold
becomes
off of
meta.
it. Maybe.
Yeah.
who knows?
I'm
I
just
don't know.
looking forward to having less stuff to clog up my inventory again.
Bank
No more
tabs were
gifts. They were on
on
sale.
sale, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm going to do this," and then I got distracted, and I was like, "Oh, I'll get them tomorrow," and then I never did.
Fun fact, I still have not bought a single extra bank tab or inventory bag tab.
It's true. When I've
Ever.
seen his bank,
Yep, I have stock everything.
I mean, I hadn't until maybe a couple of months ago, I think. And the thing I tend to find about is when you buy a bank expansion, you find stuff to fill it with, and then you're just in the same problem as you were before, where you need another
pretty
one.
much. You're like, I've got more room.
So I'm determined not to buy anymore, and just
Mhm.
try and cut down the amount of crap. I mean, if anyone saw my bank, you'd be ashamed
It is
of me.
it is pretty sad. I mean, I think the one thing that clutters my bank up the most is Bloodstone Dust because I still
Yeah,
haven't
I've-
finished
I'm
Maudry.
gonna
She
tell you,
refuses to delete her
Right.
bloodstone dust.
Can't.
I do
I-
the same. Like, I've got so much bloodstone. I'm never going to use it. Like, I'm done with ascended crafting for now. I don't do Maudry or anything, and it's just
I
sitting
delete it.
there.
I just need to run like a fractal or two to finish getting the relics, the pristine relics, so that I can finish Maudry.
Oh my god,
And
I
so-
have like 45 pristine fractal relics.
Not me.
Oh.
I've got like 3, I think.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I don't run fractals.
Fractals are super easy now too,
Well-
because you can do them like one at a time. It's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. I've
Well-
only done like one since.
We're gonna have to do
Dark
guild
Souls.
missions or something one time.
Indeed. So speaking of bank expansion and stuff, then there are no new things in the gem store at the moment. But random items have been going on sale.
Isn't
over Winter's Day.
there a mini arrowhead new
Oh, is
in the
there?
gem store? Yeah. I'm
Oh
pretty-
yeah, that came out new. I forgot.
Yeah,
Well-
it's pretty underwhelming. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It's not spectacular.
That was my fault. Sorry.
Sandra's sabotaging me on my first day back,
Mm.
picking on the new kid.
It's hardly newsworthy.
Get with it, man.
I
I know, and for a second I forgot what the arrowheads were because I hadn't been playing over the holidays, and
Are they the
I was
ones
like-
that roll?
yeah. And I was
Yeah.
like, why would anyone want a mini arrowhead? Is this like the mini rock again?
Yeah.
The pet rock?
Hey,
But
to be fair, people loved that pet rock.
I know. I thought it was.
You thought it was an
Obviously.
arrowhead, like literally an arrowhead.
I did. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
I had an
God.
arrowhead moment there for a second. I'm not blonde, but you know. Sorry, no offense to blondes out there. But it's
Are you sure
probably
that's not dyed? I think you might be.
maybe a little. No.
And so in addition to that, community news. So Kit the Traveller, who does a load of stories and stuff, is hosting a story contest. And the contest is basically to come up with your own Guild Wars 2 piece of fan fiction. First place is 2,000 gems, a random weapon skin, and your story will be made into its own kind of audio version read out by various community members. So that should be quite good. I'm not actually sure who the people reading it out will be yet.
I know she's collabed with quite a few like YouTubers and streamers
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Do voice stuff.
To do the announcement video, she collabed with Vasberg, who's a really great community artist who's done a lot of stuff for GuildMag over the years. I think one of the person I can't remember off the top of my head, I'm so sorry. But if you're interested, go to kitthetraveller.com. The link will be in the show notes, and we'll link it to anyone watching live as well in the chat. All the information is there. The deadline is the 26th of February this year. So you've got like 6 weeks, is that? Maybe
Something.
to think of an idea and submit it, and good luck to all those who enter.
Are you gonna enter, Aaron?
Oh, whoa! That
Wow.
caught me off guard there. I was
I
like,
know.
there.
like getting hit with a train.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll enter on behalf of GuildMag.
Well, I mean, your fiction's good.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you think so? I'm so
You know
touched.
what?
My heart
Yeah, I
my
do.
heart just swelled. I'm no
Aw.
longer a Grinch. I've ungrinched.
Aw.
She gave me a little compliment.
Yeah. No, I think your stuff is good. Roman and I were actually talking about this. Was it last week?
Guys, they're making
Yeah.
plans.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
were.
because we've been working on our latest GuildMag magazine issue coming out soon, and there will be a teaser at the end of this podcast, so stay tuned for that. And I was reading through Alan's fiction. You know what? I turned around and said to Sandra, "This one's not that bad."
He didn't say
Oh,
not
no, I
that bad.
didn't
He
say
said this
that.
one's actually really good. is what he
This
said.
one, as opposed to those other dog crap ones.
He said,
Those-
"I really liked Aaron's fiction."
I did say that. It was
He
good.
did say that. Yeah.
Very cool. I'm glad it went over well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's good stuff.
moving on then to game news. Aaron, do you want to take this one because you're like very disappointed in you, kind of.
Okay, so I'm not
News.
like I didn't bring this up to be super judgmental or anything. I just thought it was a very interesting piece of community news, and we did mention how good the Winter Wonderland jumping puzzle is earlier for getting presents, and it turns out if anyone is familiar with the YouTubers Suck at Love, they make a lot of Guild Wars 2 related songs, really high quality produced songs about the game. A lot of times they're amusing. Some of them are centered around community members and stuff. Apparently, one of the members of that YouTube channel actually got a 6-month ban from the game for essentially botting the Winter Wonderland jumping puzzle. At least, I read the forum thread, and we can actually link the forum thread in chat. And apparently, they got banned for accessing way too many map points way too quickly. Which was a clear, and Gail Gray actually posted in the forum thread that they accessed 29 map points in under 60 seconds, and apparently, like, that's obviously impossible. So because people were complaining on this forum thread, oh, I doubt they would do this. This must have been a mistake. And then basically the devs came out and were like, guys, no, they messed up. So. And Suck at Love were very annoyed about the ban, and they've kind of had it looks like, according to that forum thread, which I read all 7 pages of, that they're sort of having a falling out with the game now due to over this ban. But yeah, apparently one of the members was botting this jumping puzzle to transfer gold over to the other members. And I'm pretty sure it was that jumping puzzle. It could have been something else, because obviously the devs only posted a couple times in the forum thread, and I didn't get the full story out of it, but that's kind of the impression I got. But yeah, that's it just goes to show that community content creators aren't above the terms and conditions of the game. Right. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. You said the ban was for 6 months, right?
Yeah, 6 months. I believe it was 4,000 hours, which comes out to roughly 6 months or so. Okay. And that's obviously 4,000 ongoing.
Did you link that in chat, by the way?
I didn't. I copied and pasted it, and then I got carried away with what I was saying.
There you
go. So yeah, it just goes to show that content creators aren't immune to the rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just thought that was a little bit. Obviously, they make really good content. It's just cheating's cheating at the end of.
Right.
I mean, I hope they do continue to make more content after the ban's lifted.
Definitely.
So yeah, so moving on then. Guild Chat came back this week with episode 26, talking about, Colin was on, talking about plans for 2016, and they had a whole segment on music with, what's his name?
McLean.
McLean.
John McLean.
Yeah, let's call him John McLean. With John McLean and Lena Chappelle. And
John McClane and Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
No, it was good.
It was good.
McLean Damer.
That's the one. And it was really interesting to see kind of how the music evolved, and how McLean kind of scrapped a load of Heartthorn's themes before arriving at the one he had. An interesting thing is they're doing a vinyl of the soundtrack. Which
we talked about this in the last show.
Awesome.
And I thought it was kind of cool. Aaron had...
I was rolling my eyes at it. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Vinyl, come on, that's so silly. It's so silly.
I mean, I think it's a nice collector's.
Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest. I kind of want it just to hang on the wall. When they tweeted out about it a month ago, I was like, I kind of want that, but I was also like, that's really dumb.
That's your standard response, though, for a lot of things.
That's true. I'm very hard to please.
You are. But one of the things that McLean brought up was that there's something about having a tangible piece of something that you can hold in your hands. We're so digital with a lot of things nowadays and people go, digital for music, digital for books.
Magazines.
Magazines. Like we
damn kids these days with their computers.
And there is some things that's just a bit special about holding an actual physical thing that you can interact with.
You'll still have that physical thing when the computers take over.
Well,
That's right.
You'll still have that record when
That's true.
when the apocalypse happens.
Well, if the vinyl
Exactly.
doesn't melt, but there is that. I mean, I know if you can see behind me the bookshelves that are just cram packed, and that's just some of my bookshelves. But I mean, books are a thing that are like, I've tried to do ebooks. I love
Yeah,
the smell of paper.
I've never really bought into the whole ebook thing.
You
Digital
love the
magazines.
smell of
on
printing
the
press
other
in the
hand.
morning.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah, that's my coffee.
Yeah.
Libraries, that smell of musty old books.
Listen, I surpassed ebooks and jumped straight to audiobooks like early in my childhood. I can't read things. Like, I'm so addicted to multitasking now
Yeah.
that reading is just like I could be.
Yeah,
listening to something.
audiobooks are a good thing. I like audiobooks when I'm on long road trips.
Maybe we should
I'm
do like.
thinking of releasing all my GuildMag articles this year
I
as
was gonna
audio
say,
recordings.
you should do like an audio GuildMag
Oh.
magazine issue 17 will
Yeah.
be you get
I
an
thought-
audio
see, I
version.
thought
The
that was
ArenaNet
gonna-
magazine.
I thought that was going to terrify you, and you were totally on board.
Yeah, let's do it. You can narrate the whole thing.
Perfect.
Excellent.
We'll have to do voices
That's the
though.
plan. Yeah, you've got to do voices for the fiction characters.
Get all my accents, get all the cheesy accents going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
and
it.
You've got to read the editor's letter in a British accent as well.
Oh
because
man,
obviously-
you've heard my British accent. You know
That's
that's a
not
disaster.
good.
You know that doesn't go over well.
All right then, so let's jump into our discussion for this episode. So next Tuesday, there's going to be a blog post kind of discussing what's coming up next. It's Colin's State of the Game blog post, kind of talking about the first quarter of 2016 and beyond, and kind of just what we can expect for the year to come, really. So since this is our first podcast of the year, we're going to do the obligatory, what did we enjoy in 2015 and what do we hope for in 2016? That I'm sure every other podcast has done before us. But so who wants to kick off? What did you enjoy last year?
Sandy.
No, I'm
Sandy's
going
going to
to pick you.
Oh, wow, overridden.
That's right.
You've got Sandra's name on the overlay, therefore
Fair.
you get to go.
Fair enough.
You get to play me.
True.
Toss your hair, but
I know, and I pointed up because I'm looking
Yeah.
at the Skype window, but
Yeah.
on the stream,
Yeah.
she's actually over
Yeah.
there.
yeah.
But in 2015, actually, like Heart of Thorns was awesome. Obviously, but that's kind of a cop out answer. What besides Heart of Thorns, what I actually really enjoyed was the LA remodel. Thought that was super cool. A lot of people make fun of it for being like it looks like a theme park, which it totally does. But I still like how spacious and open it is, and how grand it is. It's a lot more grand than the old LA, and I kind of liked how ramshackle old LA felt. But the grandness is really cool, and I like to see it shows that the universe is moving forward, and that made me really happy. And I also liked the I think it was June. It was either June or July. The big balance patch. It was kind of the pre Heart of Thorns balance patch balance patch that reformatted a whole lot of stuff, and that made me super happy with a lot of classes that I wasn't happy with previously. Still can't play Mesmer. Still cannot find a way to enjoy Mesmer, but overall, I really enjoyed that patch.
Sandra, do you want to go? In fact, before you do that, let me just, before I forget this point, I'm sorry. I completely agree about the new LA. Since Heart of Thorns came out, and I started leveling a Revenant, I decided to do my personal story for the first time since 2012 on it, and to go back to the old LA and compare it with the new one, I was just like, you know what? Old LA really was a bit crap. Like, look, comparing it with the new one now.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that to kind of piggyback on your idea about LA feeling a bit more grand now, it reminds me of that feeling that I first had in Guild Wars 1, like the first couple of times that I went into Lion's Arch. And it was this, wow, this is a really cool city. Even though, Guild Wars 1 Lion's Arch is a lot smaller, it still had something special about it. That I think, that they've kind of pushed forward on in its new iteration. I really liked in 2015 the Living World Season 2. I liked that they brought in so much lore from Guild Wars 1. I think my favorite part is the special collections area in the German Priory. I just, like I said, I've got books behind me, so it's a big ass library.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool to just look at. It's beautiful. So I really liked, I think that was my favorite. It was just, yeah, coolness.
Indeed. So a shout out to Brazil, Mighty Teapot, and everyone else who seems to have suddenly appeared in GuildMag's chat.
Hi guys.
Hi guys.
We've gotten raided.
Welcome to the GuildMag podcast. So 2015 for me, there was some really cool stuff in game, and we've got a blog post going about this next week, well, this coming
Tomorrow.
week, tomorrow. There you go, on the GuildMag website, talking about some of the team's impressions from 2015, and one of mine was actually going to Gamescom for the first time and kind of interacting with the community.
Oh yeah, I went to PAX, didn't I?
Yeah.
See, why isn't that on your list?
That was also another favorite thing of mine.
Yeah.
And it was great to meet all the people in the community, meet some of the devs, go to the community party at the night, and yeah, in game, obviously Heart of Thorns, like most people, big highlight, especially the raiding aspect for me. Anyone who's obviously watched the podcast before will know that I was asking for raids for so long, and then they finally came, and I think it's a good first step. I'm really interested to see where they go this year with the next raid wings, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I guess. Which I guess then is a good segue for what do we hope for 2016. Aaron, since you kicked us off for 2015, do you want to go around in a circle?
Of course.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to Living World Season 3. I don't know that I'm super pumped about where it's going with the whole glint to egg thing. Like, I know that's cool for the lore and stuff, and it's a fun place to move the story, and it gives the story a very grand scale. But I really want the Living World to both focus on the grand scale of things and also smaller storylines, maybe more urban storylines in the cities, and focus more on characters, maybe introduce more new characters and focus on them more, because I feel like the game's story is doing well as a story, but it's struggling with character development and character growth, and it's struggling with endearing us to the characters we have. So I kind of want them to focus on a bit more smaller stories to kind of ground the characters more and endear them to us more. And that's really something I'm curious about to see if they'll try in 2016. Because I know the writers on Guild Wars 2's team are brilliant people. I just think that they've gotten held back with the overall development process a little bit with how busy they were with all the new systems for Heart of Thorns and stuff. So now that those systems are in place, I'm really excited to see where the writers will go with the story, that now that they have a little more freedom and a little more resources.
Yeah. I know that's something that we talked about, that the Heart of Thorns story felt a bit truncated or chopped off in places. So I'm really hoping that they will find a way to incorporate whatever stories they wanted to tell in Heart of Thorns into Living World Season 3. And where are we going to go? That's kind of my thing, is where are we going to go with the story? Because Heart of Thorns took us through these 4 maps. Mordremoth's now kaput. Perhaps.
Maybe.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm feel like I'm done with the jungle now.
Yeah.
I'm done with the dragons. I'm over them.
So it's like, well, where are we going to go? Are we going to flesh out characters and give them more backstory? Are we going to start getting answers to questions that are still unresolved from season 2? Like, who the heck is E? We never found that out. What's going on with Malik and the other pale tree or
I know,
other
man.
tree? We didn't get
yeah.
any kind of resolution of that.
So much.
I know, the whole Nightmare Court, like, some of them did resist Mordremoth's call.
I mean, especially with the death of Fallon now, like, we need to find out what's going to happen there.
Yeah, so it's like...
done so much with her.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just, what are you going to do with your story? Where are you going to take this next? And to set up, because I'm assuming they're going to use the Living World stories to set up the next expansion, like they did with seasons 1 and 2. for Heart of Thorns.
It seems like
So-
that's going to be the thing they do now. It'll be like expansion, living world, leading into next expansion.
Yeah. So it's like, are we going to, how many seasons of the Living World are we going to get? Because, you know, with Colin saying that, you know, we are having a portion of our dev team focusing on the next expansion. So we know it's coming.
Yeah.
How soon
Yeah.
is it coming?
I'd be willing to bet that we'll get one season for the year. I don't think that's going to change, but I'd be willing to bet the season's going to be longer than 8 episodes.
Well,
Now
yeah.
that
It better
Yeah.
be meaty because 16 steps or chapters for Heart of Thorns felt
Yeah.
short.
they like if you really look into, because I've gone through that story 7 times now. I'm partway through my 8th playthrough of it. If you look at the actual instances they had, the story team must have had very limited resources to tell the story they did, because a lot of the instances are just, you know, reused map assets that they just plunk some enemies down in and some dialogue. And it's really, I can just tell that the writing team didn't get a lot of probably what they produced into the game.
Yeah.
And so I'd be willing to bet that now that they've split their resources and they actually have a plan, because I want to say Heart of Thorns was was an idea that was very much pushed by NCSoft. And so they had to split their resources when they didn't want to and they weren't ready to, and that they kind of had to develop Heart of Thorns on the fly for a little bit before they really got into their groove with it. So now that they have they've probably got their whole year mapped out as far as resources. And I'm really excited to see what they do with that better planning going into the year.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get a longer Living World season. I think we'll get meatier episodes, and I think we'll get more interesting stories.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I'd like to think we'd get an expansion a year. I don't know if that's asking.
Every 2
too
years,
much.
I think, would be reasonable.
Or every year and a half.
Something like that,
Maybe.
yeah. I'd like.
I mean, if you look at World of Warcraft, right? They do every
Yeah.
2 years, and they're freaking Blizzard. They have so many more employees and so much more money than ArenaNet, and they still put out every 2 years. So every 2 to 3 years, I think, would be reasonable for Guild Wars 2.
Can the player base
That's the big question.
deal with that? That's the
'Cause
big question, I think.
It was 3
Here's
years
the-
before the first expansion. Could you wait another, let's say, 3 years for expansion number 2?
Here's the deal. Guild Wars 2 has a really strong diehard player base that's going to play the game literally for that long. We have probably, they don't release the numbers on that, but we probably have over 1 million concurrent players on average throughout the year. That probably boosts up to 2 to 3 million when the X-Pack release, but those are just people who do that. They play at an X-Pack, they play for a month, and they're done. And that's just MMOs. And so I think that diehard user base of anywhere from 500,000 to 1.5 million people will stay playing throughout that 2 to 3 year development cycle.
And of those people that are still playing, what was interesting was that the night that A Heart of Thorns launched, Mike O'Brien came out and announced that there were 7 million game accounts out there.
Yeah, 7 million accounts.
Had been created up till that point. So it's like, well, that's pretty impressive. How many of those 7 million have you been able to retain?
Yeah, and I bet a lot of them are free-to-play accounts.
Yeah.
You know, the game sales themselves are like 5 million or so box sales before they even went free to play. So a good portion of them are bot accounts, and a good portion of them are, since you don't have to pay a sub for Guild Wars 2, a good portion of them are going to be people who play when content is released and then fall off the game, which is why it's so hard to measure those numbers for Guild Wars 2.
It's interesting because I was actually looking at something like this week about what's the actual most popular Western MMOs that people play. Obviously, World of Warcraft is number 1, but it's generally the consensus that Guild Wars 2 is number 2, like the second most popular.
I would have thought SWTOR
MMO.
would be number 2.
That was actually quite far down the list. It was so.
Really?
I was looking at various things, and there were things so they're based on how many people are playing it on Raptor. You know, that service that can track kind of your game.
It spams my Twitter.
Things like how many people are tweeting about it, using Facebook about all kind of taking into account everything. And majority of surveys and stuff said that Guild Wars 2 is basically number 2.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty interesting, yeah.
So it was quite surprising, actually, and it was.
It also surprises me that Guild Wars 2 is above RuneScape, because I know RuneScape is still very popular.
RuneScape. I never got into that.
Man, that was my first MMO, man. I still have love.
hour trying to get into it, and I was like, no, it's not for me.
You're chopping a tree and you're like, this isn't for me, man.
Basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Colin also mentioned then that balance-wise, they're looking to do one every quarter to kind of really properly shake up the meta. And this is going
They
to
have
be
to now that they're going super serious with PvP leagues. They have to
Yeah.
stay on top of those balance patches.
indeed, and it's something they're looking to apply across all game modes. And 2016 seems to be the year they're really trying to push World v World. Hopefully, the World v World kind of big rework that they've been doing for over a year will deploy at some point. So, yeah, I'd be really interested to see how they plan to shake up the meta each time to make it, because it sounds like they want to do something truly different for each balance. I can't speak tonight. Each balance patch, and yeah.
Have they said whether they plan on officially splitting PvE and PvP balancing
I
yet?
don't
didn't
think
say.
so.
Because that's going to annoy the hell out of PvE players if nothing, like if PvE is in a good spot and nothing really needs nerfing, if they keep changing it up on us in PvE, that's really gonna bother me at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly do think splitting it is the way to
I mean,
go,
they did in
but
Guild Wars 1 and it was better for the game ultimately.
Yeah, I think one of the things that interested me that he said was that they are done experimenting and kind of branching out into different things and trying new things, that he wants, that the company is going to be focusing on deepening the systems that they have in building content. I mean, I know it's a lot of it's game speak or industry speak, but I thought it was an interesting thing to put out there, that admit, we've been tinkering and trying things out to see what's stuck on the wall.
I think it's an easy statement to make now, but I think as a game evolves, you're always going to have to be thinking of and inputting new systems. Like at the game's launch, I don't think they envisioned a lot of the systems they have now, but they had to develop those systems because on the fly, we realized there was issues. And that's going to continue to happen because this is a live game. And so I think as much as they say that, there's still going to be new systems that come into the game in the future with new content.
I agree. I think generally it's in a pretty solid place right now.
Absolutely.
Dungeons, bit of a mess. We're not gonna go over that.
We're sweeping them under the rug. They're gone.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Hopefully that does get some attention, because I would like dungeons to become a thing again.
I don't know why they didn't really develop resources towards it, because the dungeon community was pretty big. Like, I knew a lot of players that just did dungeons, and that's what they like to do for money. And they do that for 2 to 3 hours a day. Sometimes they do that all day. Right. And there was a huge amount of the player base that did that. So I feel like that would actually be a good place to still put resources towards, even if it's just a small team. You know, a small team of developers can do a lot for a niche piece of content like that.
And there are things that are, as we know, broken in the dungeons that would be fantastic if they could fix.
I mean, I think we can all agree that dungeons aren't the most exciting content to actually play. But even if
they could be more exciting though. If
exactly, I mean, I'd love to ArenaNet to put like a little small team who work towards improving a dungeon path here and there where they can.
Especially for some of us who are like, you know what, I don't really have time to raid. I don't really have interest in raiding. Maybe I want to, and God, am I sick of fractals, guys. I'm so sick of fractals. Like, everyone's like, oh, fractals are so good now. And I'm like, yeah, but there's no new ones.
Right.
I've played through these fractals hundreds of times. I'm done with them. I'm not going back to fractals until they put in new fractals. And dungeons would be great because I haven't played that much of the dungeons. I'd love to go through them again, but I just don't have the motivation because they're not fun and the rewards aren't really there anymore. The rewards used to be decent, but they nerfed the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I forgot what I was going to say. Oh my god.
Show notes, man.
I was those show notes. So while we're kind of talking about PvE content, obviously raids, the next raid wing is on its way at an unknown point in time. I'm really excited about that. I'm even more excited to actually get to finish the first one since I was ill, which I'm super annoyed that I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
But raids, I think, are heading in the right direction. I think they do need to be more challenging. than the current raid wing. I also, so one discussion we had before raids came out is what about DPS meters and having people be truly accountable for mistakes they make and not being the reason that your group's held back. And we put forward the question is, are DPS meters going to emerge? And there is actually one that exists.
Yeah, I'm sure in add-ons, they'll always emerge.
That measures your own personal DPS based on your combat log. But it's not a full system that can measure everyone in the party's DPS, which would absolutely break all the terms that are put forward. But and that was something that actually caused a couple of people in our raid group to quit because they felt like there was no real accountability. And at the time, we'd spent, I think, 2 weeks kind of struggling on Gorseval a little bit. We had them to 5% quite a few times, and it just wasn't quite there yet, and there was no clear reason why we couldn't do it. And it just got to the point where a couple of people got too frustrated, and they were like, it's not for me anymore.
You're literally explaining why I don't raid.
Well,
what's funny is because I talked to someone and that raids or was the leader, and he was telling me that he came from another MMO raid tradition, and he was used to hardcore calling people out, and he's just like, the Guild Wars 2 community is just too friendly.
Yeah.
you can't call people out because it makes you feel bad, and I thought that was an interesting comment on, I don't know if it was an interesting comment on the Guild Wars 2 community or MMO, players, as a whole, but it was just, well, okay, we'll try again next time. We'll get him next time, go team.
And it's really true, because that's like a community that I've gotten used to over the years, and that's the community I like to see. And so I don't really want to go into raiding and meet, and not all raiders are. Yeah, I mean, there's a vocal minority of raiders that are just awful people, and it's certainly not all of them. It's certainly not most of them, but there's a vocal minority that's not very fun to play with, and I have no interest. I have zero interest. I did it in Guild Wars 1. I was doing the elite, speed clearing of hard content. I experienced those people to a degree. I was that person, and I'm over it now. I'm past it. I'm done. And it's something I might do down the road, but right now I have no motivation to raid.
Internally, I'm so one of those people, but outwardly, I'm just like, it's like, yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it. And then I'm just like,
and then you take your hand off the push to talk and just lay into them.
Basically. But yeah, so in terms of future raids, I would like to see much more challenging stuff. I feel like players can take it. I feel first raid wing is kind of safe mechanically. I'd like to see them keep bumping up the challenge and stuff. I did actually really like the bosses. Like, I think thematically, mechanically, it's interesting, and it's definitely the right direction in terms of the end game content. What else was I about to say? New legendaries coming out this year as well. Colin mentioned that they're working on, and finally the existing ones are getting bug fixes and whatnot. Coming out in a patch soon.
Tuesday.
There's actually a patch Tuesday as well.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and that will come in on Tuesday. So, some of the fixes are coming, not all. And Matthew Pennybaker does have a post over on the forums. I'm trying to find where it is. Where he talks through what's coming, why some things are not being addressed right now, and why they're able to fix what they're fixing. But yeah, I know I think it's good that they are focusing on getting those things fixed before releasing the next ones, because if they didn't, I think it would not be good. I'm not saying that all hell would break loose, but I think there's going to be a number of players who will be vocally upset.
More sparkly lights.
Yes. Yeah. I'm interested to seeing what they're going to come out with, though. Colin seemed really excited, but Colin's always excited. He likes to, ride, champion the hype train.
He's the hype.
He is the hype
I'm
train.
really excited about what the Great Swords is going to be, because, I mean, in my personal opinion, how can you top Twilight, Sunrise, and Eternity? Like they'd have to do something just amazing.
Mhm.
Just watch it be just ugly as all sin.
Well, it might be.
Oh man,
we
watch
don't
it be
know.
so bad.
Yeah.
I'm really interested for that.
Mhm.
And so World v World, as we were talking about earlier, they're hoping to finally release the year-long endeavor to fix it, I think, for a lack of a better word.
Yeah. Finish those polishes, I
Um,
guess.
Exactly. Add more content to it and go better. I remember seeing Reddit post a couple of weeks ago about how the new maps overlay onto the existing map, and it just looks like they've been pasted on there, and it doesn't look like they belong there at all. The new Borderland maps, and I kind of agree. I was like, yeah, felt a little bit rushed.
The new Borderlands, I was so excited about these coming up to
Yeah.
launch, and then I jumped into one, and I was just like, I don't know this map, and I don't want to learn it. That's the thing. I'm just too lazy to learn them, and now I have no motivation.
Don't think
So-
that's the right attitude to have.
I haven't gone into the new Borderlands because I have no interest in World v World, but from the trailers, I remember that it seemed like they were taking the same idea of verticality from the Heart of Thorns maps and kind of translated it over to the new Borderlands maps. What was your impression of that?
There's definitely verticality. There's, especially in the keeps,
Mm-hmm.
you enter your little portal and then you're way up, really high, and there's little pathways and ways to assault that keep and go up through those levels and get to where you need to go. But the verticality is definitely there, to the point where I think gliding would make a lot of sense in these maps, but that might break World v World.
That's what I was going to ask is, wouldn't it make sense? Wouldn't that add a little bit of a way to spice up those maps or the gameplay in there? I think it would be.
It could, but it would also probably result in glide assaults being so meta that it would ruin the point of all the sprawling nothing that's in these maps. That's my main issue with them is they suffer from the same thing that a lot of open world games do, and that there is things to do, but there's so much nothing in between the things to do. You looked at somewhere to go, you look at an objective from where you are, and you don't want to go there because it's going to take you 5 solid minutes of running through just nothing at all. And they're too big. Like, they're too big with too little in them. There's a lot to do, but there's so much more empty space, and that's a problem.
Yeah. Well.
One of Aaron's famous rants there.
Yeah, that was really heartfelt. I felt the emotion there.
I didn't even plan that. That was just off the cuff.
For a PvE podcast, you sure talk about World v World a lot.
Well, I have passion for World v World because they used to make for easy dailies for me. Because I had only ever do 2 out of 3 PvE dailies because I don't like, one of them would inevitably be ones I didn't like. And so I would go pop into World v World and just get my dailies done quick. And now I can't do that. Unless it's big spender, I can't do it.
Kind of going backwards a little bit here. The idea with raids and story, we did get some story with the first raid wing. And I saw in Twitch chat a little while ago that RKs8 brought up, I need my baby story mode raids because I don't want to miss the stress, but I want the lore. But I don't want the stress.
Well, he doesn't want to miss the stress.
I know. Sorry. Second number there. But when we did talk about that, why not make a bit like of a story mode for kind of...
I have no idea. I have no idea why that's not something they implemented.
That might
be so easy.
That might be coming this year. We never know.
Yeah. I have no idea why they didn't implement it.
I know, Rowan, you were talking about that. If once you clear one section of the raid wing, you can basically go in and start at the next one. You don't have to do the whole one that you just already cleared. You get the game remembers that you've already done that.
Because as long as the rewards are non-existent for the easy mode version, people will still do the hard one. It's like it won't take away from the community around the raid. It's like I've always said, nobody's doing the raid for the story. Literally 0 people are. They're doing it for the challenge and they're doing it for the rewards.
We have one writer who might disagree there.
Well, yeah.
Our resident lore guru.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. But Draxinic is he's on a whole nother level, guys.
Of the lore love.
Yeah, the lore love is real.
Yeah, I feel like universally it's kind of something the community wants. And if you disagree, if you're watching us live in chat, feel free to disagree. If you think this is
Yeah.
a terrible idea for a story mode raid, let us know why. Because we do love to hear your opinions as we're going along, especially to all those new people who are watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I completely agree, and I can't think of a single reason not to, apart from the required development time, obviously.
Yeah. I
Not
mean,
to
I know
implement
that
story
with
mode.
with the thing that a player's progress is saved basically in the raids. I know that you can party up with someone who's already cleared it and then go in and explore things. But is that enough? Basically,
Yeah.
is that enough to kind of satisfy the lore hounds? Oh,
Yeah. So speaking of just story in general, then we kind of touch on this a little bit. But where would you like the story of Guild Wars 2 to go in the what's the in-game year? I don't know. Some of the
13,
I want to say 1329.
yeah, or 8.
that sounds
8
no,
or 9.
Yeah.
9 sounds about right, I think. I don't know.
Well, we
So
haven't
what-
had Cantha New Year yet, so I don't know what
Oh, yeah.
calendar Tyria
Someone will
goes with
chat
compared
will,
to Cantha.
will correct us here.
I think we're still in the season of the Colossus, if that means anything. Listen, I don't
Wow,
know.
look at you.
Look at you.
Throwing these things out.
Listen, I don't know enough about the lore of this game to actually know what year it is.
So yeah, where would you guys like to see just generally the story go between now and the next expansion, say?
I want more maps.
Okay.
I want more maps, and I think considering that they opened up Dry Top and Silver Wastes before Heart of Thorns and incorporated that into the living world, I think that that's something they can continue to build on as a way to add more game space. I mean, we know from Guild Wars 1 that the world of Tyria is pretty huge. And we're still getting this like little tiny sliver that it's kind of sad when you compare the two games, the two maps of what's uncovered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carrick says 4 maps in the expansion wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I thought it was plenty.
I mean, I don't know what do I think? Do I think it's enough or not? I think if you look at the actual playable space we got, taking into account the verticality of it, I think
These are
there's a
huge
lot-
maps.
They are huge maps. I mean,
I think
maybe
the content within the maps was a little sparse,
Mm.
but it was too meta-focused. But I think the map size and assets overall were plenty of space for us.
I mean,
So
what if
maps
he-
that felt spacious, but content was just
Yeah.
thin.
Mhm.
I think what would be interesting to do is compare the Heart of Thorns maps with the Eye of the North maps and kind of like playable area wise what we were
Because I think
given.
we got 15 maps with Eye of the North, but obviously Guild Wars 1 explorable areas were much smaller and very
Yeah.
much
Mhm.
more size than Guild Wars 2 ones.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I enjoy Heart of Thorns. I think a lot of people just, what's the word I'm looking for?
Burned
Aren't
out.
happy
But
with
yeah,
anything.
burned
Burned
out
out.
with it quite quickly.
Yeah. I know that that's something that has come up in amongst our own, GuildMag team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People feeling burnt out.
Mhm.
And that's kind of sad because it's like, they hyped this up for eternity for a year, 10 months. And to be burnt out with 2 months after the expansion released, it's kind of not good.
Yeah. And so
Well,
Kent
kinda
said-
sad.
Go on.
my burnout is kind of unique in that I don't find it to be a bad thing because I got burnt out on the game because I was overwhelmed with how much stuff there was that I had to do. And I was just like, oh my God, this is too much. And so that kind of killed my motivation to play. But I don't really consider that too bad of a thing because it's like, oh, I have too much stuff, my life.
Yeah.
Right.
No, there's a lot of stuff to do. And that's when I do, I'm easing back into the game now. And I have all these things to do, and it's kind of nice. So
I feel
I don't necessarily think my burnout was a bad thing. I think it was just a personal thing.
I feel exactly the same way. Like I feel like there's still so much for me to do in Heart of Thorns because over the Christmas break and over when it released, I had so much other stuff going on that I didn't get to play
Yeah.
that much. So, I mean, I've still got to level a Reaper and a Chrono and finish leveling my Revenant, finish the raids, finish all the collection stuff, the achievements, new legendaries, old legendary. Like the list just
You've got a long list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
always
massive.
write achievements off because I don't like. It's just too much. I don't do achievements in Guild Wars 2. Like, I don't care about them.
I don't
I
care.
pay attention to them when I get close to the chests. And like I'm about to hit my 10,000 chest, and that I'm like, I need to log in, but I don't have time.
I just feel like I need higher achievement points to be able to stroke my ego a bit more, because my actual achievement points are like
to be
abysmal.
cool.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna be that cool kid with like 20k. Well, that's not even cool anymore. Like, what's the highest in the game now?
I think people just broke 30,000 like a
there
couple
we
weeks
go.
ago.
So I'm gonna be the cool kid with 30k achievement points.
Oh man, yeah. I think you're too behind in dailies, my friend.
I think I'm only on like 7.5k, which I feel kind of ashamed about.
Yeah, I've always been like, because I stopped playing for a good 8-month period in 2012 and 2013, and I've always been about 8,000 or like 3,000 or 4,000 behind all my friends. So that's kind of weird, but I don't know. I don't care about achievement points that much, honestly, because I've met plenty of players who are much better than me at the game with much less achievement points, and plenty of players who have a lot more achievement points and are terrible at the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good
deal.
indicator of like skill, I guess.
So speaking of achievement points, which come with Living World season updates, and Colin, you see, this is an amazing segue. And Colin mentioned in Guild Chat, he kind of laughed when he talked about the 2-week Living World updates that happened.
Yeah.
And said that was a bit insane, quote unquote. So is this kind of a hint of less often? Is that a phrase? Less often?
Yeah.
More infrequent.
There we go. More infrequent Living World updates.
I think that it's safe to say that by now, since they've changed their schedule so much over the years, that their promise of bi-weekly updates that they made at launch is effectively null now. I think they've changed the game enough, and they've changed their schedule enough to where we don't have to hold them to that anymore. So I think it's perfectly valid for them to do monthly updates, or
which is how they.
Yeah, maybe if they do bi-weekly patches, it's not going to be story content every time.
Yeah, I mean, when they first started with the Living World seasons, it was a monthly thing, and people complained that it was too slow.
Yeah, and so then they made the bi-weekly.
Ramped it up to bi-weekly, and then it was like, oh my gosh, I've got to finish the content now.
Yeah, they're just churning out kind of mediocre content, and so I think I would be happy with monthly living story updates if the episodes were longer, and if we got maybe an episode a month all year, and we have a 12-episode season. That would be pretty neat.
Yeah, especially if the episodes were meaty.
Exactly, and we saw the improvement from season 1 to season 2, and if that trend continues, I've got really high hopes for season 3.
And then we saw de-improvement from season 2 to Heart of Thorns.
Well,
smirk on your face.
Well, I mean, we did talk about how it felt like a step backwards because of
like
how
I said,
the story wasn't developed. But
yeah, there was reasons for that.
There were reasons. But yeah, I think monthly, I would agree with that. Monthly, I would definitely agree with that. And I hope that they return to something more like what season 2 gave us in the meatiness of it.
Yeah, I completely agree.
We've said meaty a lot.
We've said meaty.
I know. Does anyone want a hamburger?
And so Simply Deo in chat says originally it was too slow because monthly content went from fixing signs to fixing signs and rezzing refugees. Wouldn't call that good content, and that's true. I think if we had monthly content in the shape of what season 2 gave us, with episodes that were a little bit longer, I'd be totally fine with that. I'd be quite happy with that.
Yeah, obviously now, they're not going to give us sign fixing. Well, they've learned their lesson from that. I don't think we have to worry about sign fixing.
Indeed. So one question I wanted to pose to you is, what do you think the next expansion is going to entail? Is it going to be another dragon, do you think? Or something entirely different that we can't even begin to think of?
Here's what I want the next expansion to do. Okay? I want the next expansion to kill off every single dragon so that we can move the F on from Elder Dragons. That's what I want to happen.
But how is that really going to, realistically, let's say that they make that a thing. How's that going to affect Tyria? right? Aren't the dragons supposed to balance the
Well, that's what the
flow
whole
of-
egg
of
thing was meant to be
magic?
about, wasn't it?
Exactly,
Right.
yeah. And either I just want us to move past the dragons somehow. I think they want to hammer home this idea of maybe killing the elder dragons isn't such a good idea, but they didn't hint at that at all in Heart of Thorns. There wasn't one mention of this concept that they hammered home in season 2. And so I don't know how they're going to link that up coming into season 3 and the next X-Pack. I hope they do, but they just left. Heart of Thorns was so Morjamoth focused, and there was no nuance to it, and it just,
Yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna link the story back up with what they introduced in season.
The
I'd like
thing. Oh, go on.
I was going to say I'd like them to open up other regions that we know are out there.
I was
you
just
know?
going to say, like, the thing that the Elder Dragons do is because where they're kind of situated is that opens up those regions. If you talk about
Yeah.
GuildMag, it means we go further into Silver Wastes. If you talk about Kralkatork, it means we go
Sure,
into the
yeah.
Crystal Desert or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Bubbles. Maybe we go to Cantha, who knows?
Yeah.
But, so I think that's kind of, if we do continue with Elder Dragons, that's maybe one of the reasons why, because it allows them to, like, explore those areas in the map with, like, hey, here's a threat, let's go kill it, which will probably get a bit stale, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is
Have to
stale
go
now.
well,
I would like to see them develop this idea that killing off the dragons is not good in the long run. I mean, because we got hints of that echoing back to Guild Wars 1 in season 2. So seeing the societies of Tyria or your player character in their guild learning from that and saying, maybe we need to change up the way we approach this.
yeah.
Here's the thing though. We also have to keep in mind that, like, okay, so killing the Elder Dragons not so good, right? But at the same time, are we supposed to just let Tyria, get nuked essentially and let civilization die completely? No, they're not going to do that. So there's going to have to be some sort of solution that frees us from the Elder Dragons, but also keeps Tyria balanced in some sort of cycle of, destruction and growth. And I can't personally see how those things are going to come about. What I could possibly see is us killing off all the Elder Dragons and making our own version of what they are to accomplish what they do in a way that's safe for society. Kind of like how Cormyr takes Abaddon's place when you kill Abaddon in Nightfall. Spoiler alert. Maybe we'll have to have entities take the place of these Elder Dragons and manage magic in a way that's safe for society, but also safe for Tyria.
Yep.
And that could result in the human gods coming back. That could result in us making new entities through absorbing the power of the Elder Dragons. But yeah, this concept of balance has to remain, but also obviously for the game to keep going, unless they want to skip us like 10,000 years into the next Tyria. We'll have to keep our civilization going as well.
Immortality X brings up this point in chat that Guild Wars 1 had an expansion every 6 months, and people are quitting because they're talking about, well, maybe there's going to be an expansion every year. But one of the things that put me in mind was that the expansions in Guild Wars 1, they weren't really related story-wise. Not really.
No.
And
the only thing that tied any of those expansions together was the revelation at the end of Nightfall that Abaddon did it all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So it's not outside the realm of possibility for their writing team to bring in something completely new.
It isn't. Yeah, it's totally possible. Like, they could just be like, hey, we're going to Cantha now, and there's stuff going down there.
And ignore the dragons for a while.
Yeah, I mean, and just be like, the dragon thing is kind of staying the same as it has been,
Exactly. It's not like
time.
They're an immediate threat in the sense that we're about to get nuked any day now. I mean, Morjamoth only became a threat because of what Scarlet did.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like the dragons are like there and they're supposed to be this big entity, but no one's really scared of them because they don't actually do anything. Like, they don't actually move forward with their assault. They're just like, yeah, we're kind of here, just threatening you. And we might attack any day now. Who knows? So live in fear.
Yeah.
Our fear is kind of dwindling down at this point because we're like, they're not going to do anything. There's dragons dragoning somewhere.
Yeah. Dragons schmagons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they could totally go somewhere else with the story because the dragons are kind of just chilling. So,
Yeah.
and other things are going to happen in the world. So they could go somewhere else with the expansion, which I wouldn't be averse to.
Yeah.
I'm sick of the Elder Dragons.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in other parts of the world, and I would love for us to just get rid of them or ignore them for a period.
I vote for ignoring.
I think what's interesting is what they did with Mordramoth in terms of how they presented him as an Elder Dragon, because he never really was a dragon as like
Tangible
Zaitan
thing.
was. Yeah.
Because
Right.
in the Dragonstand meta, there's an entity that a lot of people assume is Mordramoth, which is actually another minion of Mordramoth that is the mouth of Mordramoth, I
Right.
believe it's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
And so that's not actually Mordramoth. You could consider it Mordramoth's physical embodiment, but the Mordramoth as a whole, either we never saw his body or Mordramoth is a consciousness. He is a concept.
He
Right,
is the
which-
jungle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is the jungle. I mean, when we fought the I want to call him the Michelin Man version of dragon in the mind of
Yeah.
Mordramoth in the last instance, it didn't feel like you saw him and you're just kind of going, really? This is what we're all in a panic about? This is what's causing all of this destruction and mayhem?
hmm
So we can take you out,
Yeah.
Michelin Man. Dragon Man.
So, Immortality X in chat is trying to be snarky, going like, Guild Wars 2 Return to Cantha, new expansion featuring Master Togo and Menlo because plot. Actually, interestingly enough, Cantha is in a really interesting situation right now with its totalitarian rule under the Ministry of Purity.
Right.
It's the setting for what would essentially be a fantastic story about the liberation of a nation from tyranny, and it would also be a fantastic social commentary and political commentary on that kind of society and the pros and cons of that society and what liberating that society means governmentally and stuff. And that would actually be a fascinating story, much more fascinating than there's a big bad guy, we need to kill it. So
That's
I
what
think going to
Bubbles-
Cantha would
They
a
can
fantastic
do a
move.
lot of, especially with the Ministry of Purity kind of thing. That let's not forget, we were kind of helping in Guild Wars Beyond. So it's kind of on us what's
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
we
I think
helped bring that about, and then we
Exactly.
tried to, which is why I think Winds of Change is my absolute favorite Guild Wars 2 story that's ever been told in the game world. I think it's the pinnacle of ArenaNet's writing ability. If you haven't played it in Guild Wars 1, go back and do it. But Nightfall is actually Elona is actually in a very similar situation under Palamajoko,
Yeah.
except that's a more extreme example of straight out tyrannical rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are definitely other directions that they can go and start exploring again. And I'd like to see them, I'd like to see the studio give the writers a bit of some free reign. Yeah, let
There's
them loose.
also going back to the Elder Dragons and what we do with them, there's also the concept of Snaf's mind control device. He was actually able to control the mind of an Elder Dragon, which is pretty hardcore, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So if we could figure out how to do that and just basically get the Elder Dragons under our control and rein them in, we could theoretically use them to do what they do safely and continue on with our society. And Snaf figured out how to do that. So that technology exists. So that's a pretty easy solution, and it's kind of a plot hole in my opinion, but that could also be a solution to the Elder Dragon issue in some form.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is that because they've set up Kralkatorrik as an actual dragon from the books, it would be... I actually wouldn't mind doing one more Elder Dragon if it was Kralkatorrik to see what they'd like an actual dragon to be. Because Zaitan was a bit... He looked cool. The fight, we all know, wasn't
Right.
great. I'd like to have an actual fight with an actual massive
Like you
dragon.
want to be running up the arm of an Elder Dragon, like stabbing
Yeah.
it in the
You want
foreleg
to
with
be
your sword.
you want to be
Let's-
Legolas
Let's
Yeah.
yeah.
dragon? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's think
Yeah.
like Dragon Age Inquisition on steroids. Like that's
Yeah.
the kind of
If you've
fight
ever-
I would like.
If you've ever played the game Dragon's Dogma, that is basically an RPG where you're literally slamming your sword into a dragon's neck, vaulting up onto it, and then like cutting its head off. And that's what people want with the Elder Dragon fights. And I think at least one, like they should do that for at least one Elder
Yeah.
Dragon
Right.
fight. Even if it involves airships, have a segment where I jump off the airship
Glide
and hammer on the
down.
dragon physically.
And glide
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Glide down, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Kralkatorrik is actually a good choice because we have Glint's egg hatching, and we have
Yeah.
all the Forgotten Inkling history in the
There
Crystal
we go.
Desert, which is where Kralkatorrik lives. And I could definitely see us going back there
Just-
to revisit all the stuff the Forgotten built there. Like there could be Exalted in the Crystal Desert because you have the Forgotten Temple at Augury Rock and stuff
Yeah.
like that. That architecture, we now know the source of that golden architecture, which is the Forgotten and the Exalted. And so I think that the Crystal Desert is a good chance for the next X-Pack. It's the #1 spot I've wanted to go since launch.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
makes me really excited for the
There we
next
go.
X-Pack.
I've just
To the
solved
point-
the expansion for us.
Yeah,
You have.
I was going to say that to the point that came up in chat, I saw it scroll by, that Alona and Cantha were human-centric places only. So how would that help the flavor, I guess, for the other races?
Well, we can see
Exciting.
the culture shock of taking those other races to those continents. And that's actually really interesting. So,
Yeah.
And
And
MMOs
Go
go on.
I was
I
going to
was-
say that I don't put it outside the realm of possibility that the orders that are made up of the races, like the Order of Whispers and the Priory, have gone
agents.
and have gone out there and had some little expeditions into these other areas to kind of study.
Well, then there
and-
are Oh, go ahead.
No,
Go
I was
ahead.
just going to say that would be one way of kind of bringing in some of that culture shock and learning.
And there are areas in Guild Wars 1 that are off the edges of the map on these extra continents, and we only see the human activity. Like the Norn we're from an area off the edge of the Tyrian map originally. And if you look at characters in, for instance, what's that place called? Elonian lore, like Asa, who was a giant of a man, he could very easily have been a Norn from some place
True.
that we didn't get to go on Elona. So these races like the Asura, they're an underground race. They could still be living underground in Cantha. Nothing came along in Cantha to kick them out. You know, these races can exist in the other continents in ways that just were never revealed in Guild Wars 1.
And so
Oh, wow.
Immortality just linked, does anyone remember this? Referring to
That's
the
the-
massive
Elonan Quarter, right?
Canthan,
Oh no, that's the Canthan Quarter
Canthan Quarter in Divinity's Reach.
in Divinity's Reach.
The
That's
Great
now
Collapse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the whole thing behind that was never, was it? I can't remember if it was actually ever confirmed or not, but it was widely speculated and hinted at. It was because NCSoft didn't. Oh, what was the? It was basically because they didn't want the way, like, Cantha portrayed Asian people and
Asian cultures did not like factions. They
Right.
did not like the factions campaign. They thought it was too stereotypical. I thought it was a cool example of a melding of Asian cultures, but I think a lot of Asian countries didn't like it because it melded so many cultures. It didn't have,
And in
Yeah.
that sense, it's very, I hate to say it, but it's very American because that's where you
It's-
see that an American
it's just like,
developer.
oh, Asian. You know, it's
Well,
not.
yeah, there's that, but there's also the idea that in the United States we've got this melding of and cross fusion of cultures, and so things do become, just Asian American or Hispanic American or whatever, and so we kind of get lumped into these big umbrellas rather than kind of separating out and appreciating the nuances and differences between those.
Yeah, because in factions, what you saw a lot of was Japanese architecture, but a lot of the character names were Chinese.
Right.
And I think a lot of those countries didn't like the melding of those cultures because they take a lot of pride in their individuality. So, and I think they just didn't appreciate the lack of individualization of their cultures, which I think people don't give enough credit to the fact that Western fantasy is totally a mix of every European culture ever. So it doesn't bother me as much, but that's, I'm pretty sure, the reason why, because those countries didn't appreciate being represented that way, and they wanted the game, they knew that we're going to do a China release, so I think they wanted the game to go over well in all those countries.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if they were to do Cantha now, obviously they know all that and they've learned from it, and I feel like they could do a really nice job that would satisfy all the markets they're trying to publish Guild Wars 2 in. Just have to wait and see, I guess, if we ever get to revisit it.
Yep.
And so some last little tidbits we're going to talk about then is the little bomb that Ruby dropped at the end of Guild Chat. Is gliding coming to Central Tyria? So at the very end of guild chat, we saw her gliding around in ore. And does that mean we're gonna get it? Do you got off the top like instant reactions? What did you think when you saw that? Did you think immediately yes we're getting it, or did you think oh?
I did.
I think there's literally no other reason for them to show that clip than to mean we're getting gliding in at least some zones in Central Tyria. It could be just like we could just be getting it in ore, like there could be because it's a high level zone, you know.
Yeah.
And so that could be a reason why we'd get it in maybe level 80 zones or something like that.
I mean, in the way that she introduced it, there was no segue. It had nothing to do with what they'd been talking about.
She's just
like, here, I want to just show you this. I like ore. Boom.
Yeah, she just like slides the keyboard in, like, can I just use this a sec? And then, I like ore. And then it just fades to her gliding, and it's like, oh, okay.
And that was their little cutout, which I thought it was a clever way to end the show. But yeah, it was such a big hype train tease, basically.
Yeah, and I'm thinking they're not stupid.
No.
Okay? They know that if they do that and they don't deliver, they effectively troll us. That would leave such a sour taste in our mouth. That would make us dislike them as a company so much. So there's literally no other reason to show that clip than they're putting gliding in core Tyria in some capacity. I don't know if it's going to be every zone, but it will be some capacity.
Yeah, so we've got a note in here then. So how do you think it actually work? Because there's no updrafts in core Tyria, or will leyline gliding be a thing? Because there's none of that actually there. Would they be adding that in, or is it just like we've got here?
These are things that could be added to maps. Yeah, these are things that could be added to maps in future Living World updates because they have to do with the story. You know, ley lines have to do with the story, things like that. So these could come into maps in future updates. I wouldn't look for too much integration. I think it'll just, and I think they're kind of just like, okay, people have had, 4 years now to do all these jumping puzzles and stuff. They don't really mind if some of the jumping puzzles get broken or trivialized with this new gliding feature. There's more important things now, like keeping the community happy, which gliding is bound to do for a long time.
Yeah, it's very interesting that they explicitly said it's for Heart of Thorns maps only, and then how many months down the line are we?
2, 3, 2.5, 3?
4? Well, 3
October.
It was like mid-October at launch, wasn't it? Or was it end of October? Okay.
October 23rd, so it was the end of October.
Okay, so
we're just over 2 months in.
Yeah.
Okay, so and in that short space of time, we're suddenly, seemingly, they're going back on that, and we're getting gliding in core Tyria.
Well, I mean, and it's another way of ramping up, maybe getting those free to play players to.
That's very true.
Money.
I didn't think of that. This is the first time they'll actually see it in game.
Yeah, if you need Heart of Thorns to train masteries at all, even the core ones. So people will see that free players will see that gliding happening, and they're like,
"What?
I need that in my life."
Exactly.
So it's pretty.
I mean, it's
quite smart, actually.
Yeah.
From that point of view. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it because you know what, the amount of times I've gone to core Tyria and forgot that I can't actually glide anymore is a little bit frustrating. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
And so that was everything we were going to cover. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to talk about?
I think we covered everything.
We did. We had a good show.
Absolutely. So on Tuesday, new patch and new blog post. So next week we'll be talking all about that. Before we go, we've got some GuildMag news.
That's right.
So for all those who maybe have never even heard of GuildMag before, they're in chat right now. GuildMag, as the name suggests, we do produce a regular Guild Wars 2 magazine digitally. And our latest issue is coming out soon. It's called the GuildMag Annual. It's a kind of combination of the best bits from 2015 that we published in our previous magazines and on our website, and loads of new ones, all celebrating the release of Heart of Thorns and just generally 2015 in-game. So we've got loads of lore, fiction, art, editorials, and a competition to win 800 gems. And we've got the first look at the front cover that no one else will have seen before. So let me see if I can remember.
Exclusive.
World exclusive. So
world exclusive.
World first.
We need a music track for this month.
I should have thought about that. This is just kind of been put together and I can't remember where it. Here we go. So there we go. There's the front cover for the GuildMag Annual 2015. If you were one of the 75 people to pre-order a physical copy of it, that's what will be arriving in your mailbox within within 2 weeks. Let's say within 2 weeks.
Depending
to play
on
it
where you
safe.
live in the world.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
They
next
will be
week,
shipping next week.
physical copies are shipping out. So hopefully you enjoy them. If not, if you didn't get to pre-order, then don't worry. As always, it'll be released for free digitally on guildmag.com. That'll be coming out within the next 2 weeks, depending on when generally people get their physical copy, because we like to kind of release it around the same time.
Mhm.
So yeah, keep an eye out on guildmag.com for that. We're also recruiting as well, so if you would like to write about Guild Wars 2 content, whether it's fiction, whether it's opinion pieces, guides, whatever content interests you, we have a place for you on the team. We are one of the oldest Guild Wars 2 fan sites running. We're coming up to our 6th year now.
Wow.
I know. And whatever interests you, we've got a place. We've also got a place for editors and for designers, but it's writers at the moment we're really on the lookout for. So if you're interested, you can go to
Cool.
guildmag.com/join, and it explains everything you need to know about the application process, about the requirements, and about what you'll actually be doing as part of the team. It is all voluntary. Unfortunately, we don't get to pay you because we don't get enough money for that. But there are team member rewards and incentives in place. So, but don't let that be the only motivator. Do it for the community, not for the rewards.
Not for the fame and dosh. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's especially great if you are kind of school age, high school, college age. It's a great thing to put on your CV as well. We've all done it. So
Yep.
yeah, guildmag.com/join. That's it for this podcast. If you're watching us live, we'll be back very, very shortly with the post show to answer any questions, talk about us, especially if you're new to the stream. You're more than welcome to ask us anything. And we will see you in a week's time for everyone who's not with us live. So, anyone else got anything to say before we go?
Nope.
Look
All right.
forward to more
Yeah.
ranting
See you next week.
Exactly. We'll see you next week, guys. So bye.
Bye.